Okay, everyone. Good morning. Declan Fahy is my name. I teach and research in the School of Communications in DCU, and I'm delighted to be here this morning to be with you. And I'm going to speak about two degree courses, both in my sort of area of research and teaching expertise. The first will be the Masters in Science and Health Communication, and the second will be the Masters in Climate Change, Policy, Media, and Society. So I'm going to take them in turn. And I propose that I just go through both courses and then I can answer questions about both or either after I finish kind of going through them. So first, let me start, as you can see there on the screen, with the Science and Health Communication Masters. I'm in a very fortunate position now because I'm delighted to speak about this course because it's a master's I did myself. I was in one of the first cohorts of the degree in the late 90s. The degree was founded in the mid 1990s to address a particular new kind of social need, which I'll talk a little bit about in the next couple of minutes. But it's the only degree of its kind on the island of Ireland, and it has been since its foundation more than 25 years ago. So it's a very long-running master's. We've a good, rich history of producing many graduates, researchers, and it's become a kind of a center for research internationally in science and health communication. And the things that drew me to the degree when I was in your position were the same things that kind of keep me interested today. I think that science and health issues that are at the core of many issues concerning us as individuals, as societies, as countries, as nations. And I think that having an understanding of these issues is kind of central in many ways to modern life. And the degree itself was founded to meet this kind of need. There was an idea that professional communicators were needed to talk about science and health issues with wider kind of publics, with non-experts, right? And since I studied on the degree, this has only become more and more important. We've all lived through COVID. We're kind of planning in many ways for an expected future viral pandemic, right? And science and health communication has been central to those. We're all vaguely or keenly aware of debates over artificial intelligence and what will that mean for us and our societies. And that involves a huge amount of science communication. And also there's the ongoing social problems around environmental pollution, environmental issues, ecological issues, as well as health inequalities in society. And science and health communication addresses all of these, right? And so there was a recognition in universities and in government and in research centers that science needed to be communicated. The public needed to understand science. It was part of being a citizen in modern societies. And so the degree was brought in response to that kind of deep kind of social need. And so that's a little bit about the kind of background to the degree. What I want to discuss over the next few minutes are a little bit about the skills and understandings the degree will teach. I'll talk about how the program is structured. I'll talk about practical matters like the timetable and weekly study commitment for full and part-time students. And then I want to talk in particular about two aspects of the degree. It's work placement and the dissertation. Again, they're central elements of any master's degree, and I want to talk specifically about what they mean for our master's degree. So I've spoken a little bit about the social need, the recognition that skilled science and health communicators are needed in today's kind of society, and it in like communicating these issues involves a degree of specialist understanding, right, that goes above and beyond general communication skills. There's a degree of content expertise that is kind of needed already. And that content expertise is needed, whether we're informing the public about new developments, maybe helping the public understand the complexities of science and health. Maybe we want to mobilize the public to take action on specific kind of issues. Maybe we want to kind of spread scientific knowledge and ways of scientific thinking in society so we can all understand science and also the many kind of controversial issues related to science. For example, controversies over vaccines, controversies over genetically modified foods, controversies over artificial intelligence, controversies over the effects of social media on mental health, for example, all fall under the wide remit of what we look at in the degree. So let me talk first broadly about the skills and understandings we will look at. And so you can see them there on the screen, and I'll give you a second to let you just kind of read those before I talk about a couple of them in particular. So in a sense, the degree merges two kind of areas. It's kind of basic understandings of communication and specific theories and ideas about how science and health are issues that are communicated. And so there are fundamental issues we need to understand, like understanding different audiences, how to understand those audiences, how to tailor communication to those different audiences, how different audiences think about science and react to science. And we can see this in more specific terms, like students at the moment, this year on the degree, are designing health communication campaigns, seeking to influence public health around issues such as obesity and cancer and alcohol, for example. So that's a very concrete example of science communication in action, health communication in action. But in order to think about these issues in a specialized way, the degree argues that students should have a very advanced understanding of how science and health interact with wider society, right? How do people think about science? Do people trust science? What do people know about science? Why are people perhaps resistant or critical of some aspects of scientific development? And they're issues that are ones that we will dive into very, very deeply. And it often is not a case of people being ignorant or people being not educated enough. There are deep sort of social and cultural ideas going on here that we dive into and investigate in many ways. We will also pay heavy attention towards how the media communicates science, right? It's a crucial way, everything from the news media to different forms of social media, online influencers, and different ways scientific and health information permeates society. And also we'll develop very advanced research skills, as you should, doing any kind of master's degree. So the idea of science communication, right, it is a new field, but it is one that has a very strong and solid theoretical and conceptual foundation. The first name here, this is a paper written by two eminent scholars in the field, and Brian Trench is a former lecturer here at the School of Communications and one of the pioneers in the field and set up the program, was instrumental in setting up the program in the late 1990s. So the science and health communication, although new, it is built on a very, very solid foundation of research and ideas and many decades of kind of hard thinking around these problems. And it's that foundation that kind of structures the degree that I want to talk a little bit about now. So here is how the degree is composed of core modules that everyone has to take and optional modules. So I want to talk us through a little bit about the core modules, and then I'll talk a little bit about the optional modules. So in terms of the core modules, in your first semester, Science, Health and Society looks at these large-scale issues that connect science and society that I spoke about briefly. Health communication focuses on how health is communicated, particularly through public health campaigns aimed at improving individual and public health. Research methods trains you in different social science and humanities-based research methods that you will then go on to apply and put into practice in your dissertation. Science and health in the media, looking at everything from the news media to social media to different ways that it's science and health is communicated in various popular media, novels, plays, films, television, video games, etc. Strategic communication for STEM. It's a core idea in communications that it is strategic, it is evidence-based, it is very carefully planned and designed and executed. And this course goes through those. And then the last two parts I'll talk about a little bit more in detail, the dissertation and the intro placement. I'll get to those in a minute. The optional modules, one great advantage of our degree is that it's situated in the School of Communication, which means we've access to a wide variety of experts who are specialists in many different kind of areas. So the optional modules, of which you will pick two, gives students a chance to kind of tailor the degree in some ways to their own kind of interests. So example, in semester one here, you can look at two different ways of looking at social media. Can't get away from social media. It's an essential part of understanding communications today. And then we have different options here. For example, you might look at something like data communication. It's very important to science communication, and it's an ongoing challenge for science and health communicators is how to kind of communicate data effectively. And also the notion of media audiences is particularly important for us, right? Because understanding different audiences for media is essential. It's a key area of research and practice for science communication. So what it would look like, this is for a full-time student, right? So full-time students currently, this is what their semester 1 will look like. Semester 1 is just finished for the current cohort, and they will have taken these 3 core modules, and they will have chosen one of these 2 optional modules. It's unfortunately, there's always choices to be made, and it would be great if everyone could study every course, but the upside of that is that you get to tailor things to your own interests and your own plans and ambitions that you might have for yourself and your career. Semester 2, for full-time students, this is what you will be studying. 3 core modules, and then you would choose 1 optional module as well. So a master's degree full-time is quite intense. There's a very high volume of reading. There's a large amount of assignments. It's kind of something that you'll be expected to immerse yourself in. As you can see, it's the classes are intense. There's many of them, and it demands a degree of kind of commitment and attention. But that's really good. You have 1 year to master an area, which is where the idea of the master's comes from, and this is how we've designed the course to do that. And then in the summer, you will do your dissertation and you will do your intra placement, and I'll talk about those in 1 second. So the intra placement, it's a compulsory work placement on the degree. It takes place in the summer months, anytime between May and July usually. Between 4 and 8 weeks it lasts, and there are 2 ways to arrange this work placement. You can arrange it by yourself, or there's a dedicated office for work placements, the intra office in DCU, and they will facilitate and arrange a work placement for you as part of the degree. Students have undertaken work placements at companies involved in, say, health communication and science communication, in research institutes, at universities, museums, everywhere the science communication and health communication is practiced, our students have gone and done a work placement kind of there. And it gives you some practical experience. It allows you to network and build up your kind of contacts and apply some of the ideas that we speak about in class. And this process officially starts in February, well ahead of taking up placements over the summer. And the second part I want to talk about is the dissertation. A dissertation is core to any master's degree, and we see it as kind of core to this degree also. As you can see there, it's 15,000 words, so it's a major piece of advanced academic research. It's original research. You won't just be summarizing what other people have thought and written about a topic. You'll be contributing to knowledge through your own research, applying 1 or more of the research methods that you will have learned about. And topics can range anything from, designing a health communication campaign to examining how cancer is represented or portrayed in news media, to looking at science in novels, to science in films, to talking about how universities might more effectively communicate around specific types of science, such as biotechnology, physics, astrophysics, anything kind of like that. And the dissertation really is a way for you to focus on something that you are really interested in, something that kind of aligns with your career goals, and is a way for you to really master a kind of a topic. So when you finish the degree and you're looking for career opportunities, you'll have a major kind of calling card here where you can say, I want to work communicating health in the NGO sector, for example, and to prove that I'm interested in this, here's my dissertation that I've done, looking at how, particular organizations communicate about something related to science or health. And the choice is yours. For every student, it's usually a process we go through, working intensely on refining, and developing your kind of topic. And it's, the aim is to produce a very, very good piece of work that you'll be proud of, not only at the end of the degree, but forever. And then you'll be working with an academic staff member who will kind of work with you in a kind of supervisory capacity to help you develop and refine your ideas a little bit. Where do you go afterwards? Where have people gone? We have 25 years of experience of people graduating from the course. And there's a range of different roles that people have undertaken when they have left this degree. As I've said there, you can work for universities, research institutes, companies, state agencies, and then in the more traditional areas of publishers, museums, and media outlets focused on science and health. One thing that has been clearly evident since my time studying the degree is that science communication has moved from being something where often people are unsure exactly what it is, but it has become much more in the past 2 decades professionalized as an area. And by professionalized, I mean jobs advertised looking for science communication professionals, health communication professionals. These roles are now integrated in many ways into scientific institutions and universities, companies, and especially state agencies and NGOs. And so there's a kind of an enhanced recognition of the special skills and understandings that are needed in order to communicate around these areas. And it's an area of that can be, your skills and understandings can be tailored and applied to many of these kind of areas. So but again, I would suggest also that for people entering the degree, it can be helpful to have an idea of where you want to go at the end of it, because that can then help tailor what you choose for your dissertation, how you choose particular assignments, what options you pick, what areas you want to focus on, and what areas you really want to master yourself over the course of the degree. And myself, especially, and all my colleagues here will be able to work with you and do that. So I think quickly talk about the timetable. So it is designed to, all classes are on campus. They're all face-to-face classes. There are no online classes. It's not a hybrid degree. The classes take place in the evening, usually from 4 o'clock onwards, as you can see there from the full-time timetable. Don't worry about the kind of different kind of naming system and things like that here. That's really just for internal DCU stuff, but you get an idea of what your week would look like. So classes take place from 4 o'clock into the evening, and this is to facilitate part-time students who are working at the same time as studying, and having evening classes allows them to juggle their working and academic lives. So as a full-time student, you'll be on campus 3 days a week in the evenings, leaving plenty of time to, do your reading, do your assignments, kind of immerse yourself in the literature around different kind of areas, and kind of plan your week around that. Now, the timetable does kind of change, but this is generally what it will look like next year. And then if you are a part-time student, this is what your semester 1 will look like. So from September to December next year, it'll be, I can't guarantee that it'll be exactly the same, but broadly similar to this. So you'll be on campus 2 evenings a week, Wednesdays and Thursdays, where you will do your core module and your optional module as well of your choice. So that's the kind of time commitment. And generally, as a general kind of rule of thumb, for every hour in the classroom, you should be working 2 to 3 hours outside of the classroom in terms of your reading or your assignments and things like that. So for full-time students, that's kind of built into the timetable. You will have the time to do that. And for part-time students who are usually very effective at managing their own time, they can schedule the week according to their work commitments and their academic commitments. So that, just to finish up, for any academic related queries, things that you're interested in, please do contact me as program chair. That's my email address there. Email is usually the best. I'm quite responsive on that. So for anything, no matter how big or small about the course, particularly about the academic related matters to do with the course, just drop me a line, let me know, and we can kind of take it from there. So I am going to stop sharing this screen, and I'm going to move, and I'm going to look to share a different one here. And so let me just get the climate change masters here. All right, so this is okay. So just let me share this screen here. Okay, so has that one kind of come up? It has. Let me expand it out there, and we'll kind of get going on this. So this is the second degree program I'm going to speak a little bit about, and I'm in a nice role here in that I am co-chair of this program. I co-chair this program with my colleague, Dr. David Robbins, and I'll provide his contact details later on. And so we think about climate change here, and when I spoke about science and health issues becoming central in many ways to society and debates about science and society and where we're all kind of going, major challenges that face us in the future, this issue of climate change is one that has come to over the past 20 years, become increasingly central and increasingly kind of important. And in response to this kind of social need, right, there's a demand for professionals who understand climate change and, crucially, understand climate change from many different dimensions. Not only understanding the science of climate change, but increasingly understanding the sort of social, political, and media communication dimensions of climate change. Because our kind of premise for starting this course is that, you know, the issue of the science of climate change is largely settled within the scientific community, right? There are areas that are still being researched, but in general, it's accepted it's an enormous social problem, a scientific fact, and one that societies around the world need to respond to. And so our kind of desire was to produce a master's that would fill this need, would meet this social need with skilled professionals who would understand climate change in all these many different kind of dimensions and be able to bring them together and integrate them in various parts of modern society, modern life. So I'm going to talk a little bit, similar to what I did with the science communication and the health communication program, talk a little bit about the skills and understandings, the structure of the program, and the timetable and study commitment, right? So, and then I'll talk a little bit about the dissertation or capstone project that the degree offers as well. So, the key for us here is an integrated understanding of climate. All right, and so you can kind of read down through some of those skills and understandings, but I want to talk particularly about this kind of idea of integration. So, you know, a premise for establishing the course was that there's a huge social need for people who understand and are skilled in thinking about the many dimensions of climate change. And two, any degree at a master's level that seeks a more general understanding of climate change should integrate lots of different perspectives, lots of different disciplines, lots of different bodies of knowledge, lots of different ways of thinking. And that has underpinned how we've designed the course. So taking this degree, you'll be exposed to and understand and study deeply perspectives on climate change from, you know, policy and governance, from communication and media, from education studies, and there's one module dedicated to science, obviously, because climate change is a physical phenomenon and the kind of essentials of it should be understood by anybody that has a master's degree in the area. But just to stress, it is not a sort of science degree, it is not a science qualification. It's very much anchored in the social sciences and the humanities. And so in terms of how the program is structured and how it's laid out and what it means, similar, there are core modules and there are optional modules. And so if we look first at the core modules, these are the essentials of the degree, right? These are the foundational understandings that you kind of need. And you'll see there very quickly the integration of different kind of perspectives, right? We have, you know, the physical science basis, if we take that as a kind of a foundational understanding of the kind of, you know, the science of climate change. Then we have the policy and governance of climate change, the media dimension to climate change, and then the course Climate Change and Societal Transition, of course, I teach, really looks at how the role of communication in affecting social change around climate. What is the role of communication and climate action, right? How do different organizations such as political parties, such as scientists, such as NGOs, such as journalists, how do they communicate about climate change in a way that kind of leads to kind of social transition to a more sort of climate change adapted society in many ways. And then again, like in any master's degree, you'll do a course in research methods. And finally, you will do a dissertation or a capstone project. And I'll talk about the difference between those in a little bit. And again, as one strength of this program is that it combines experts from the School of Communications and the School of Law and Government. And they're both within the larger Faculty of the Humanities and Social Sciences. But what that means in practice is that you get a range of subject area experts from communications and from law and government. And so we see here, depending on your interests, you can take the very, very broad view of world politics and environmental change, the really, really big picture of things. If you're particularly interested in education, we also have teachers and scholars from the School of Education who's focused specifically about how to communicate climate and environmental issues. Take a class there, climate change law, very important. Climate change in cities, looking particularly at the impact of climate change on city life and what it'll mean for living in cities, the particular challenges that cities kind of face in a kind of a warming world. And then the last two are more kind of looking more at the, again, the bigger picture, political economy, meaning, the kind of large scale social systems that we all kind of live in and how they affect the environment. And then an interesting newer course looking at what responsibilities societies may or potentially may not have to future generations to ensure that the world we all pass on is a kind of a better one. And we'll look at how that might be laid out and spelled out. In terms of the structure, right? So there are four core modules rather, and you will do 2 optional modules, right? So again, unfortunately, all the optional modules are really great. Students who take all of them are particularly enthused and glad they took them, but unfortunately, you're limited to 2 optional modules in addition to the core kind of modules. And like the Masters in Science and Health Communication, like all our Masters, the dissertation is a central part of the degree, and that's kind of reflected in the amount of credits that are assigned to it there. So it's a huge area, and it's one that you can tailor to your interests, whether that your interests be in law and climate, governance, climate, media, climate, communications, climate, business and climate. You can tailor your interests to your dissertation topic or your kind of capstone project. And the difference is small between a dissertation and a capstone. A dissertation is more sort of traditional, academically scholarly focused, in that you're undertaking an original piece of research, creating new knowledge about climate change in society, building on the research methodology class that you will have taken. A capstone project is slightly different in that it's a little bit more applied. You might be producing an evidence-based, research-based, theoretically informed project that might, say, be focused on a particular institution, right? And this option is often taken by students who are currently working, and in their professional roles, they are dealing with climate change. And the capstone way is a way to draw on the knowledge from the degree and apply that knowledge in a project that will help their organization address climate change in whatever form. So it's kind of much more applied research is how I would think about it. The dissertation, more traditional academic research, the capstone, much more applied research. In terms of the kind of nuts and bolts, the mechanics of it, so if you're a full-time student, again, the classes are in the evening. So this is what your week will look like. Wednesdays and Thursday evenings, essentially you're here from 3 to 7. And again, it's very, very busy. The general rule applies for every hour in class. It's 2 to 3 hours outside of class in terms of your reading, assignment preparation, and immersion in your topic. So it's although it's timetabled for the 2 days, it's a busy week getting everything kind of together and everything kind of done. In terms of part-time students, this is currently the timetable for semester 1. It'll change. It could change a little bit, but generally not really in terms of the hours and the commitment. So if you're a part-time student this year, this is what your week will like. You'll be on campus for 1 day a week, and that's currently Thursdays, and you'll do these 2 classes here on your Thursdays. So that's kind of what your week will look like in your first semester. If you're interested in what the degree will look like over your second semester as a part-time student, and then in your second year, I haven't covered that here, but please do just send me an email and I'll go through that. There's a lot of different, there's a lot of details and permutations, so it's better dealt with in a kind of one-to-one email that I can communicate with you directly on that. So please do send me an email on that, and I can communicate that to you, depending on if that's an area you want to kind of go down. And then if you're in year 2, again, similar time commitment. You'll be on campus 1 day a week doing these 2 kind of classes. And then the dissertation or capstone, I've spoken a little bit about it, right? And the part I didn't mention again is, like all master's dissertations or capstone projects, you'll be working closely with an academic staff member who will kind of help guide you through the process of producing a capstone or producing an original piece of academic research. Again, climate change is it's one of those areas that suddenly it's seemingly all at once that all sorts of different institutions and organizations in society have begun to take incredibly seriously, and that can be seen in the way there are professional roles within organizations dealing specifically with climate issues, with sustainability issues, right? Government agencies, non-governmental organizations, particular businesses, right? With the rise of corporate social responsibility, kind of sustainability focus in businesses as well, becoming increasingly important. And that's, that's where our graduates have found work. That's where, say, people who might be working take the degree part-time because they're seeing the importance of these issues within their own organizations and are seeking to develop their own professional expertise and qualifications in that area. And so the grad students who are working, who take the program, have been responsible for kind of climate action roles within their particular organizations. A feature of the degree also is that, the degree is up and running for a few years now, but we have a rich and thriving alumni network, which meets regularly, and it's a way to kind of build your network, meet others in Ireland and internationally working on climate action and climate related issues. So it's one benefit of the degree as well, that you can be integrated into this network to meet others, to network potential job opportunities and kind of issues like that. But it's a way for the degree to kind of live on in a way after your time here in DCU is finished. And again, so I am here. I am the program co-chair. That's my email address. And then my colleague, David Robbins, is chairing the program with me. So for either of us, we'll be able to answer any queries, particularly academic related queries. Just send us an email and we'll be in touch. So thank you very much. They're my 2 presentations I have for us today. So I'm happy to answer any questions, happy to talk a little bit more about any specific kind of aspects of the program. So Helena's question here, are there opportunities for climate-specific research modules in the communication? And by that, Helena, I'm taking that you mean the Science and Health Communication Masters, if there's climate-specific research modules. We talk about environmental issues, we speak about climate issues. Obviously, you're talking about science communication. You can't not address climate change in great detail. So there are no modules dedicated specifically to climate change on the Science and Health Masters. There's one optional module on political economy of the environment, and that really looks at the large political and economic setup of societies and how those large structures influence how policies are formed and how societies respond to climate change. So it is there as an optional module, but the climate is not as central to the Science and Health Masters as it is obviously to the Climate Change Masters. What I would say though is, you say law and government isn't for you. The degree is deliberately set up across 2 schools, with input, say, from the School of Education as well, because, that climate change cuts across so many different areas that it's, it really, for a rounded understanding of it, there is a need to think about governance issues. There is a need to think a little bit about legal issues. But you have great scope in the climate change masters to kind of tailor it to what you want to be interested in. So, for example, if you were to opt for the climate change masters, but yet not that interested in law and government issues, you would have your module in governance, for example, that you would take as a kind of a core foundational one. But your other modules are around media, around communication and societal change, around the scientific basis. You could maneuver the course as much as you want away from areas you're not interested in, as much as you can maneuver it towards areas that you really, really are interested in. So the thing about the degree is that people come to it with lots of different interests, lots of different areas they want to explore. Not every dimension of the degree is for them or something they're interested in. So for some, law and government isn't for them. They really like the communication and media, and they, will invest more into those areas. For some, it's the education they're really interested in, and they invest in that area. For some, the communication is not so important. They're very interested in law and government. But just for yourself, I would, look at the degree and how you would, what options you might take, and that will kind of show that it's like law and government is important, but it's not the central focus of the whole degree. I hope that helps, Selena.
Great, that's brilliant. Thank you for that, Declan, and thank you, Helena, for the question as well, guys. Anyone else have any questions before we finish up then?
And yeah, listen, feel free to contact me directly as well. No, that's no problem at all.
Brilliant. Well, folks, if there's no other questions, then I'd just like to thank you all for tuning in this morning and for showing an interest in postgrad study with DCU. And again, our massive thanks to Declan for presenting on the two programs in such detail and so comprehensively, and for answering your questions as well. So we'll wrap the session up then if there's no further questions. And as Declan said, feel free to contact him. He's left his contact information there. And you can also reach out to anyone else with any questions you have regarding the wider aspects of postgrad at DCU via the Postgrad Hub on our website. So thank you all for tuning in. Thank you again, Declan, and we'll speak to you all soon. Thanks, folks.
Thank you all very much. Thank you indeed. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.